Hey guys, Psycho Dude Horror here. This will be a double upload today. So earlier I posted Smile Dog. Now I'm doing a self-written story. I have two that I've written. The first one I made was if your phone gets stolen, don't ever attempt to get it back. I might do it later. Leave a comment below if you do want me to actually do it. But for now, I'm doing this one. It's called Mr.shadow. This is one I wrote for myself, well, by myself. I had a few people look at it for me and said that it wasn't too bad. There was a couple spelling errors in there. And if you want, I can post it on the No Sleep Reddit. I mean, their rules are finicky, so I'll have to find a way to get around it. But I will try to if you guys want to. Comment down below if you want to. If you guys do enjoy this story, leave a comment and tell me if you think I should continue writing stories of my own. And leave a like and consider subscribing. Let's get into Mr. Shadow. Stay scary. My name is Tyson, but you can call me Ty, pronounced like Ty. But anyway, around a month ago, I had almost lost my life. And you may think I was in an accident or something, but it was much more than that. But before I start, let me warn you. If you ever get a message from someone named Mr. Shadow, never respond to it. But let's start at the beginning. Around the start of this year in February. It's October now. And I overhear a conversation at lunch between two of my friends. For privacy reasons, let's call them John and Ethan. I hear them talking about how Ethan went on the deep web, and when I heard about this, I was intrigued. So I started eavesdropping in on their conversation. Eventually they stopped and lunch was over and we go about our day. When I get home, I attempted to log onto the deep web, but had no such luck. So I just left it alone. But only for a week, before my curiosity got the best of me, and I asked Ethan how to get on the deep web. But he said, no, the deep web is very dangerous, and I don't want to put you in that situation. But I continued hounding him to tell me, and finally he cracked and said that he would come over and tell me how to get on after school. So after school he comes over and we get on my computer, and he said I had to download a browser called Tor, so I can access .onion links. And when I asked him what a .onion link was, he responded with, "It's a link that can't be accessed by the surface web or in your usual search engine such as Google or Windows Explorer." I responded with, "Okay, that's understandable." So I continued to download the Tor browser and get ready to start it, but just before I did, Ethan stops me and says, "Before you start it up, turn on your antivirus in every proxy you have. And I'll also allow you to borrow my VPN login." I say back, "Okay, thanks for telling me, man, and we don't want any viruses now. And thanks for letting me borrow your VPN, man." He responds with, "No problem, bro." After we set everything up, we boot up Tor and proceed to scroll around different pages, most of them being illegal gun sellers or drug sites. So after a while, we stop and go play some basketball outside until Ethan has to go home. Then I go inside and carry on with my night. A week later, I decided to go back on the deep web. I went back on the deep web and I made sure to do everything Ethan told me to do before I logged back on. As I scrolled around, I saw a page that was new. So I clicked the link, and it took a sec to load, but once it did, my screen flashed red. The page was an all-red page with white letters in the middle that read, "Watch your Red Rooms live, currently." I thought to myself, this explains the red page. Then I attempted to scroll down, but there was no page to scroll on. So I continued looking at the red page and saw two options at the bottom that read, "Join a live Red Room." The second one read, "Exit page." And I knew I didn't want to exit because I found something that piqued my interest and I didn't know what a Red Room was and I wanted to find out. So I clicked the first one, and as it was loading, I started Red Room could be. And all I could think about was it was probably just one of those live pornography sites. When the page fully loaded, I saw I was in a chat room with a live feed, which I assumed was the Red Room feed. I looked at the chat to see it's just me and one other user by the name of Mr.shadow. But I think nothing of it and continued watching. While I'm watching, I switch to Google and look up the definition of Red Room. And it said live feed in which someone is live streaming themselves murdering someone. And as I read it, I said out loud, "This is horse shit. No way that's real." And I just continued watching. After about half an hour of watching, I started getting bored because nothing's happening besides a girl who looked around 19 doing work on her laptop, assuming for university classes. And just as I'm about to exit tour and go on with my night, Mr. Shadow starts typing. And I assumed he was going to say that he was bored as well and was going to get ready to log off. So I stayed to see what he was going to say. And when he was done typing, he said, "The show is about to begin." Whatever that meant. So I decided to stay a little longer. And after around 15 minutes, I'm about to leave when there was a loud, audible crash heard in another room of the girl's home. That can be heard in the live feed. Then the girl gets up, sets her computer on her bed, and opens the door and looks out, then slowly creeps out. Then I see a dark figure into the frame in the bedroom. It stops in the corner and crouches down. I didn't really think much of this because it could have just been her little brother or something. So after a short amount of time, the girl returns to her room, sits back down, and continues working. Then she receives a call on her phone. She answers and she begins with a soft, "Hello?" Then I'm guessing whoever was on the phone said something to which she responded with, "What do you mean it's showtime?" The girl then says, "Don't call this number again." Then she proceeds to hang up. Then 5 minutes go by and she gets another call. She scoffs and gets ready to yell at the person who's calling her. After she said to not, but then she stops, dead in her tracks. In the video, a dial tone of someone who is calling out. The girl then turns towards the corner and screams, jumping up in an attempt to run from whatever was in the corner, but the shadow figure moves with inhuman-like speed across the room. She catches the girl almost instantly and grabs her, proceeds to tie her down to the bed, and pulls out a knife, slowly cuts into the girl's stomach. As she tries to wiggle free from her bonds, she's trying to scream through the gag placed in her mouth. The figure then fully slashes the girl's stomach open and slowly starts removing her guts. As I watched in horror, I broke my trance that I was in, shut the page, trying not to throw up at the horror I just witnessed. I couldn't tell my parents about what happened, so I just chose to try and get some sleep and tell Ethan and John in the morning at school. When I got to school the next day, I told Ethan and John, but they didn't believe me until I got a text message from an unknown number. After I received the text, I asked Ethan and John if I should respond. They asked what the unknown number said. I read the text out loud for them. The message reads, "Hello, you remember me?" I then asked them again what I should do. They said, "I think you should respond to see who they are." I said, "Okay," and responded with, "No, who are you and how'd you get this number?" The anonymous person responded with, "You can call me Mr.shadow. We met in the chat room last night. How I got this number is of no importance to you." That's when my friends started believing my story. They said to stop contacting the number and not to talk to them again. I agreed and continued on with my day, but the whole day I had the idea in my head, where did Mr. Shadow get my number? Then I went onto my computer after school and saw the answer. When I went on the deep web last night, I forgot to use Ethan's VPN. That meant Mr. Shadow had my IP address and found my number. For a few months I got messages from Mr. Shadow, but I didn't respond. and I didn't use the deep web. But when September came, it got 10 times worse. I kept getting messages from Mr. Shadow, but this time they were threats or cryptic message saying stuff like time's running out or it's almost your turn. And for the first week, I was scared, but then Monday in the morning, week 2 of September, the messages just stopped. After school, I went to a friend's house and I felt like everything was normal again. But that sense of safety shattered when I got home. When I got home, the front door was wide open and my parents were nowhere to be found. No cars in the driveway. It's like they vanished off the earth. I stepped inside my pitch black home and looked at the fridge. It was a note. I couldn't read it on the dark. The only visible part that I could read was the bottom that was being illuminated by the moonlight coming through the open door. When I read it, it said, "We are out on a date night. We should be home by 1 or 2. Dinner is in the fridge." I sighed in relief at the note and started heading upstairs to check the rest of the house. As I'm searching upstairs, I find that it seems like the power is out. I start heading to my room and I see that my light is the only one on in the entire house, which I thought was odd because usually every light in the house is on besides mine. So I start heading outside to call my parents when someone calls me. I was receiving a call from an unknown person and I just thought it was a scam caller. So I answered it with my usual scam caller trolling. When I picked up the phone, it started with, "Do you remember who I am?" I said, "No, but your mom knew who I am after last night." He then said, "Call me Mr. Shadow." He said this to me for a week. And then said, "Ethan or John, whichever one is messing with you, stop." Then Mr. Shadow said, "Come to your room. I have something to show you." I then immediately hung up and headed to my room. I then shouted before I opened the door, "Ethan, John, I'm coming in. You better not jump out and scare me." I hesitated before opening the door though, because I was kind of worried about what was going on. So before I opened the door, I called the number again, and I heard the ringtone inside my room. I then immediately hung up and waited longer. Then the person on the other side calling me. I knew this was a pair of dial. So I grabbed my hand, threw the door open. I saw nothing. Just my empty room and me. I slowly crept over to the closet, the window. Nothing. I got on my knees and looked under the bed. Nothing. I then just sat down and took a breath. And then from the corner, I heard the dial tone. Someone calling someone. Then my phone started ringing. I then got up, walked to the door, and just as I was walking out of my room, I looked into the corner and saw Mr. Shadow's face. It was the worst thing possible. It wasn't even human. He then started giving chase. It felt like everything was going in slow motion. I kept running until I made it to the stairs, and Mr. Shadow grabbed me and started dragging me. I was kicking and scrambling for my life. He then started choking me slowly, crushing my windpipe. I managed to kick him off of me. I then scrambled to my feet and started running down the stairs, but he got me again. This time I couldn't get away. Mr. Shadow tied me down and pulled out a knife. My life was flashing before my eyes. I was thinking about how I was going to die the same way that girl did a few months ago. He then began cutting my stomach open. When he had got all the way, he stopped and revealed to me that he was wearing a mask. Then he began removing his mask. And when he did it, it was like the world collapsed around me. The person who was killing me was my own best friend. Ethan. He said, I told you to stay away, but you didn't pay mind to what I was telling you. This could have been avoided. But now that you know, I have to kill you. I screamed through the gag. Ethan was about to start removing my guts like the girl, but just as he was removing them, I heard the police pull into the driveway, with my dad and mom behind them. They shot Ethan, killing him. That was the last thing I saw before everything went black. I awoke in the hospital a few weeks later. When I asked the nurse what happened, she said I'd passed out from blood loss and the trauma I had just been through. And the blood loss had caused me to fall into a coma for a few weeks. She said, we fixed the giant slash in his back of his stomach. But I was okay. I got discharged and went back to school. I told them everything. Said it was good. But I'm still worried. Just hope nothing like that ever happens again. The way John acted when I told him, his calmness raised a red flag in my mind. But everything was okay. That's my story. Remember, never go on the deep web. I hope you believe my story. I'm signing off now because it looks like I'm getting a call from an unknown number. Hi there, kids. Psycho Dude Horror here. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. This was only my second one ever made, so it's probably terrible. Let me know if you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, leave a comment below and tell me if you want me to continue making stories of my own. And be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. And I shall see you guys in the next story. Stay scary.